Hello, Infor community. My name is Keith Wayland, and I'll be your host for today's episode of RPI Talking About CloudSuite. It is my pleasure to introduce today's esteemed panel of Infor Multiverse pundits, starting with renowned navigator of the Infor seas and life-size inspiration behind the bobble stout, Mr. Richard Lee Stout. Joining us today from Dallas, Texas, RPI's resident fashionista and stalwart of the HCM Thought Leadership Circuit, Ms. Melissa Olson. Broadcasting from Rochester, New York, supply chain management luminary and walking masterclass in public speaking, Ms. Stephanie Marquez. Live from Birmingham, Alabama, we have all-world program manager and consummate personification of Southern courtesy, Mr. Brian Depew. And last but not least, joining us from Boise, Idaho, we welcome Master Sommelier of Program Management and foremost interpretive of the Executive Dialogue, Mr. Brian Luttrell. I'd like to start by setting the stage for today's presentation by asking Richard Stout that most consummate Stout question. What are we trying to accomplish here?
What are we trying to accomplish here? Well, thanks, Keith. Let me tell you, with the crest of the wave of CloudSuite implementation projects recently behind us, many organizations are now assessing what's working well and what needs improvement with their Infor solutions. Implementations are intense. There's tremendous pressure to make decisions, prioritize time and resources without the benefit of experience working on the new platform. And it's the stabilization period after go live that opens up breathing room to consider what can we do now to streamline our daily operations with Infor and take advantage of all that CloudSuite has to offer. This is applicable to organizations that are fully operational with Infor CloudSuite, as well as those in a hybrid cloud or currently transitioning to full cloud. At this point in the life cycle, we have many clients live on financials and HR, payroll remaining in Lawson, and completing that migration, moving away from a hybrid state with all its data synchronization needs. That offers significant advantages. As we all know, major projects such as these take the spotlight. And while this is underway, it's important not to lose focus on other parts of the business that are in that 3 months to 2 years window post-live. Because we found it's during this time period that employees are very receptive to change, recapturing some of that optimism that we all felt in the early days of our CloudSuite journey. Organizations having the most success with CloudSuite have followed through on a stabilization and enhancement phase after each project go live, while other implementation activity is happening in parallel. For leaders that seek to enhance productivity, improve end user satisfaction, and make the most of our technology investments, our work is never done. This is essentially where to begin on day 2 after go live.
Day 2? Whatever do you mean? Day 366? I've been at this for a long time. I thought the whole point of going cloud was to set it and forget it, that projects would join servers in that great big spirit in the sky.
Yeah, your ERP system is a journey, and we're happy to be with you through it.
Mr. Depew, now you've been on the forefront of the post-live frontiers across a wide spectrum of customers. What are you seeing in terms of needs and opportunities? Are there any commonalities, or is it unique customer to customer?
Yes, I've been able to spend a lot of time with a number of large healthcare clients as well as public sector clients over the last six months to a year to really work with them on post go live issues. And there is a lot of common themes with these post go live optimization, road mapping efforts, etc. Basically, what we're finding is there is a definite need for both functional and IT training as they continue to evolve with their processes. The other common theme has been the need for reporting assistance. Reporting is a big area of improvement, of area that has not gotten probably the most attention during the project implementation phase. Usually reporting is one of those high volume areas in the project that gets pushed back to a second phase. So what we're finding, there's a need for optimizing the recently developed reports, as well as developing new reports that they couldn't get to, and really understanding the out-of-box Infor reports that are delivered and the analytics that are available. It's a big opportunity. As far as the functional areas go, what we're finding in the finance area, for the most part, the theme and the problem areas have been around the AP and the AR processing, as well as the grant management. From a supply chain perspective, the main areas of focus have been on contract management. And then with HR benefit processes, it has been an issue with a lot of the clients, as well as the open enrollment process, focus on ACA and COBRA, which are complex processes. From a payroll perspective, the majority of attention has been on reporting around validation and improving that aspect in the payroll process. One of the other areas that has been common in the different clients is around data storage and the use of IDM, both in the finance and supply areas, as well as the HR area, to basically install efficiencies and automation in those areas. From an IT perspective, really the full automation of interfaces and the IPA enhancements. IPAs, some of those get pushed off for phase two because of the high volume during phase one. So we're seeing a number of corrections that need to take place with the IPAs that have been put in place, and the use of IDM is another area that we continue to evolve and find pain points with as they move forward.
Thank you, Brian. Now, Mr. Luttrell, you've also had the opportunity to work with a cross-section of post-life customers. Do customers west of the Mississippi have the same needs, just in a different time zone?
Yep, pretty much. Brian, I think, pretty much nailed it. A lot of things happening. I think financial reporting is right at the top of the list coming out of Go Live. There's some secondary scope items that show up as well. Position control I've seen, and additional IDM functionality. Spreading the IPAs also, I've seen a lot of that occurring. So I think Brian made a real good case for the things that we're seeing out west. A couple other things I've seen clients tackle after Go Live is either tackling an interface or enhancing their interface to their EMR system in the healthcare world, and taking advantage of the functionality that Suite has there. So when the two talk to each other well, you get some real benefits. Another area I've seen clients take on is structural relations. During the course of an implementation, it's hard to sometimes get agreement on structural relations and how to get that done on the accounting side, but it can help a ton. So given the timelines in an implementation, you don't always get it done, but the luxury of time afterwards, where it's not like a hard set go live date, you can break those into pieces and get it rolled out. Nice thing about structural relations is you can tackle it a section at a time. It doesn't have to be a corporate wide implementation. You can break it up. So I see a lot of that, and it turns addressing areas of business that most issues there, and then adding as you go. You take the big ones and you break it down and roll it out to the other areas. So we're seeing a lot of that too.
Thanks, gentlemen. That gives us a whole host of topics to dive into, and we shall begin with the techie stuff. Mr. Depew, why do we see all this interface animation work after go live? Didn't I already build and test all these during a seemingly endless loop of testing cycles?
Well, I think you just, in all transparency, I think you do these testings with all the interface work that has been developed. However, there are so many scenarios that you run into as you're trying to replicate either what was built in the current legacy system or for new interfaces. And I think what you find out is there are one-offs or there's non-frequent actions that as you get into the actual processing of these interfaces, there's a number of corrections that need to be made. The other thing that I think is important is that because of the project and usually the length of a project being a set timeline, there's a lot of future optimization interfaces that never got put into place, automations that never got into place, automated distributions that haven't get put in place. So I think you're finally getting to certain identified interfaces and flows automation that you just did not have time to get into because of the high volume.
Okay, so expansion of automations, handling the exceptions on interfaces. What about IDM? You mentioned some opportunities post-live there.
Yeah, I do think document storage is a common theme among the clients, that the process, either whether it's an IDM or whether it's in a third party, is not as efficient and automated as it can be. There's a lot of areas around AP automation, around the HR document storage, around automating the processing of packing slips. One other area that is common, especially in the healthcare area, is the use of independent contractors in that entire process. And how do you automate that process and to be more efficient? And one thing that RPI has been able to do and assist with these clients is the use of our yoga software, which really automates that AP automation process. It can automate the document storage. And we've also built kind of a state-of-the-art independent contractor process that really improves the whole processing and the efficiencies with the entire process.
Quick shout out to those solutions. Is the purpose built to work with Infor, FSM, and HCM, so they integrate pretty seamlessly. And they're based on the customer needs that we've identified. Thank you very much, Brian. Now let's tackle reporting. Reporting, especially operational financial reporting, has been a hot topic around all SaaS solutions for the last few years. Personally, I see this is driven by two factors: lack of direct access to the backend database and data models that are generated by computer algorithms and not optimized for consumption by the human brain. Mr. Luttrell, we could use some insight into what the post-live reporting scene is like. Would you describe it more as a rave or a Netflix and chill?
I think when I look at reporting, I think there's a lot of reasons we're seeing a lot of stuff happening, post go live. It's first off, it's no secret that the reporting in Infor and CloudSuite is something that they're working on and trying to address, but it's not home yet. It's not there yet. So we're seeing a lot of things happen there. I think one of the reasons we're seeing a lot of reporting effort after the fact is that we strive in our implementations to ask the client to go with out-of-the-box solutions to start with, not go custom first, go out of the box to start with. And we also ask them not to duplicate every single report that was in their current system. Take a look at the new. So then when you put those to the test, when they're actually under fire, not all of them are going to make the mark. You're going to have some that are going to fall out, and you do end up going to a custom solution. There's going to be reports also that were not recreated because we asked them to take a look at new ones that we're going to have to, as it turns out, go back and recreate some of those. There's a handful of those as well. And there's also, like Brian mentioned, coming off your rights list or your tech dev list, you're going to have all your must-haves, hopefully, for go live, but you're going to have a list of should-haves and could-haves that have now moved up the priority list and need to get addressed. So there's a lot of reasons that go into that reporting.
Yeah, and it sounds like some of these are things that you want to flesh out based on actual needs and not perceived ones. So they're a better fit for the other side. Now, Infor is all about that reporting. This has been an area of heavy focus and investment over the last few years. Mr. Richard Stout, any insight you can share with us on direction, strategy, and tools? Bonus points if it's highly classified.
Yes, absolutely. When it comes to reporting, Infor is leaps and bounds ahead of where we were with our first CloudSuite implementations. And a lot of customers who have been live for some time may not be aware of all the new offerings. Infor has been hard at work, improving both the reporting toolset and the delivered reports. There are entire analytics applications available now for the HCM and the FSM suites. They include key metrics and reporting that many early adopters had to build custom or just do without. And unlike applications to use, updates to the analytics packages must be requested by clients so they have the opportunity to test before deployment. So don't expect to see these pop up in your tenants automatically. And this year marked the launch of GL Report Designer, a financial reporting tool aimed at business users. It's been likened to the new RW100. It allows finance departments to become a little more self-sufficient, maybe makes up for the fact that Application Studio had such a high learning curve. But perhaps even more meaningful than new reports and reporting tools is Infor's improvement in strategy and communication. Many of our viewers today may have experienced some whiplash when Infor first acquired Burst, positioned it as the end-all be-all of reporting, only to pivot away as limitations on real-time data access hampered Burst's effectiveness for operational reporting. At this point, Infor strategy has matured enough that they can clearly articulate which tools are best suited for which purposes, leaving behind jargon-filled, product-driven messaging in favor of a use case-based strategy is an achievement we can celebrate.
What about the lake house?
What about the lake house? Lake house is, in my mind, it's a perfect example of why organizations shouldn't shelve their plans to enhance reporting and analytics based on the promise of some new feature or product on the horizon. Look, software vendors are always innovating, right? We should expect that there's always something new on the roadmap. But inevitably, new products fall short of expectations that take time to mature and leave business users feeling burned. As said by Mark Twain, continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection.
Now, market needs are also market opportunities, and market forces often respond. Stout, can you share more about third-party solutions that are helping customers heal their reporting wounds?
Yeah, for sure. Enterprise application vendors have positioned themselves as the end-all platform for business data, right? But smart organizations have figured out that a multi-vendor approach to business intelligence yields the best results. Infor, for its part, plays well with this strategy, given the strong integration capabilities of CloudSuite, and in particular, the introduction of replication sets for bulk data export. There are two reporting products that Infor clients have found really useful. Dashboard Gear, it's a data model that opens up reporting on CloudSuite data using mainstream tools like Power BI or Tableau. And Spreadsheet Server by Insight Software. It's a Microsoft Excel add-in focused on financial reporting that our clients have found both more capable than GL Report Designer and a lot more approachable than App Studio.
Thank you, Mr. Stout. Let's take a break from the talking heads. It's time to talk to the talent about talent. Ms. Olson, on the HR talent front, can you share with us some of the initiatives that customers tend to focus on as a phase two? And if they were so important, why didn't they get done in the first place?
That is a great point. So what we're seeing is a lot of compensation module. I think clients either think that there might be more base functionality in GHR. So while you can manage your step and grade and max there, you can't do any progressions, or you can't automate merit or any other type of mass compensation pay. So once they recognize that that is part of the module, they end up trying to set the foundation so they can do that day two. Another is around OC health and safety. And your second question was, why isn't it part of phase one? A lot of times it is part of phase one, but as we get into these projects and we figure out how do we lay the foundation correctly to utilize not only those applications, but also other HR talent modules, we end up doing a lot of transformational work around jobs, around positions, around org structure. And because of that work, we end up, having to de-scope some of the other smaller applications in order to be super thoughtful about how the base GHR foundation is set up.
Thank you, Melissa. You've spoken in the past about the concept of initiative versus efficiency-driven projects. Can you expand on this? And also, more importantly, tell us which is better?
So as we see goals from organizations, I started to see these patterns. And the patterns were either the efficiency driven, which is let's get rid of the third-party apps. Let's bring everything under Infor. Let's automate some processes. Let's bring some spreadsheets or homegrown systems, offline and into the system. And it's not that those processes aren't happening today. It's that they're just kind of in disparate systems, or they're happening manually. And the impotence for the project is really around the automation and consolidation into Infor products. The initiative driven is we want more. We already have pretty good processes. We already are using IPA flows, workflows, approvals, and we want to be able to, get to the next level. And that's why we're moving to CloudSuite, because of more HR talent apps. So then the initiatives might be around reducing turnover. And, that's not an easy question to answer, but it's all about getting in front of the data and getting visibility and starting to see patterns and trends of the data. So when we have something like reducing turnover, it's about how can we start bringing in the information, and how can we get the analytics and start building that history and ensuring that those analytics are truly answering the questions that organizations and leaders need. And if not, we need to pivot and start gathering different information. If it's around budgets or saving money, what does that look like? And so those are initiatives that sometimes will not just be one application or module that we turn on, but pieces of multiple applications, and then building reporting and analytics around it, again, to get that visibility. No matter what your product is, no matter what service you offer, it's your employees that are essentially offering that. So, HR kind of holds the keys to organizations' strategic and future decisions and goals. So in order to be able to grow, shrink, acquire, whatever those goals are, it's about getting in front of that data.
Thank you, Melissa. It's almost like there's an element of tactical low-hanging fruit that's there to be had, and then it's like, how do you support the organization's larger strategic initiatives through your HR system, processes, and projects? I have a GHR challenge for you.
Sure.
Are you able to explain to us the difference between a qualification and a competency in the form of a haiku?
Oh boy, a haiku. Let's see. I should reach back into the depths of high school, and it's like, a competency would be a skill. A competency would be education. I'm not even going to try and keep going down this way, but really, qualifications is really the umbrella term for competencies, skills, certifications, credentials, knowledge, all of the things. We used to call them KSAs in HR. Now there's so many other attributes that we like to track, especially when we're trying to build out career paths, succession paths, internal talent pools for recruiting. So we like to just say, you know what, instead of saying, do you need credentials or do you need education? We just bundle them in Infor as qualifications. All of those topics, all of those attributes are under the qualifications kind of vernacular.
Thanks, Melissa. Position budgeting is hot, hot, hot. Can you tell us why?
A couple of reasons. So position budgeting, not actual budgeting. Well, that's another common misconception, misnomer. You would have your budgets from your financials group, budgeting software, wherever it comes in, and you load it into the GHR system. That will allow you to kind of manage your head count. Do you want to manage it by actual heads, FTEs, salary budgets? And if you are running talent acquisition, it allows you to just say no. If you've hit a budget in a certain department for people, then the system will not allow you to move more people or change salaries, give willy-nilly pay raises without proper approval. It really kind of locks down. In a time that we're going into, hopefully we're not going into the recession, hopefully we're coming out, but there's like a lot of questions around where the economy is going to be. Organizations are really trying to lock down what their spending looks like. And the largest budget out there is their people and their pay spending.
In almost every business, right? All about that people. Thanks, Melissa. Another area of untapped ROI can often be found in the supply management. Ms. Marquez, let's throw down on some supply chain. Contract management, strategic sourcing, supplier order management. Why so many names?
It does get a little bit confusing, but I think the most important thing to know is that each of those that you just listed is essentially a module within supply chain. You have contract management, sourcing, supplier portal. They really encompass all of what we call supplier order management. While they can be implemented separately, and this is one of the things to kind of bear in mind, they really do function at their best and bring the highest level of value to an organization if they're implemented together. And I know I think Brian Depew mentioned, seeing contract management as a focus in those phase twos for clients. And really we see sourcing and supplier portal kind of rolled into those as well.
Is the rumor true that you have successfully integrated contract management with DocuSign? And if so, what possessed you to build this solution, Frankenstein?
Yeah, no, it definitely is true. I started a public sector project back in the fall of 2021, and throughout the duration of that project, we got word from Infor, hey, this is ready to go. And that was one of this client's biggest kind of hot buttons, is they wanted a solution that would be able to integrate with their document signature process. So we kind of hacked it out a little bit, learned as we went, and it ended up being one of the easiest components to that implementation for that client. They are very pleased with how seamless it really kind of fit right into their contract approval structure. So they were able to take that portion of their business process and layer it into the contract approval, which was an enhancement for them. They didn't have that in their previous Lawson state, and kind of run with it. Gave a lot of visibility to the leaders within the organization. We've mentioned IDM a couple of times, and I think it's helpful for our viewers to know that if you're integrating DocuSign, IDM stores those signed documents right in document management. So if somebody has the security and the level of access, they can retrieve those documents and see a really nice summary sheet from DocuSign, as well as that signed contract.
It actually sounds like a wonderful solution. There's been a lot of hype surrounding inventory intelligence. Does this mean that storerooms will someday take over the earth, and should we be afraid?
Definitely don't be afraid. I think it's a pretty unique solution within the CloudSuite modules. And we've had a couple of clients that have implemented it recently, and we've tend to see a similar strategy among those clients. I think it's helpful to know that that solution itself is really best used when it's looking back 364 days at your data. But our approach is really, let's get it set up. Right? Set it up in the system. That way, those scheduled jobs or reports, they're continuously running throughout, your first year, month, 6 months, whatever, on the CloudSuite application, and it improves the metrics that you're getting over time. So the inventory intelligence is looking back at that PAR and inventory replenishment, and to say, yes, we're going to, follow this recommendation day one is a little bit difficult, because your trends that are being reported are going to be on whatever's coming over from your legacy system or has come into CloudSuite through your data migration. So it's not going to really be that true picture. But a lot of those clients, like I said, they get it set up. And then later on down the road, in those types of phase two type, dive deeper, they can really then analyze the data, see what the trends are with the items. Additionally, you can kind of dig into it and see if there are any processes that needs improvement based on your inventory processes itself, which ultimately could impact savings through labor cost reductions. Melissa just spoke to, the labor costs for organizations. So it really does tie in nicely, given a larger period of time, to be able to have the system analyze that data.
So there's a key takeaway there that it'll work better with a data set that was built within the system that is analyzing, and not in order
Absolutely.
for one that had different transactions. Now,
100%.
I say recall management, you say item lifecycle management, Stout says potato. Why can't we all get on the same page?
I think that the recall management was kind of the ways of the past, and we're really focusing on the terminology of item lifecycle management going forward, which is again one of those kind of unique solutions that we see some folks kind of adding on as those phase 2 type projects. We generally see the item lifecycle management, or as you would call it, recall management, in the healthcare space. I think it's really helpful for viewers to know that there are a lot of nuances in creating the structure for your item lifecycle management. And so when we have these larger organizations, you really do need to take the time to focus in on how that structure is developed, what users you have brought in, because changing it down the road or kind of peeling it back after you've brought it live is no bueno. Not good, pretty difficult to do. So definitely that's one of those areas that you really want to be looking at with fresh eyes and with a broad picture understanding.
Right, and this is something that happens pretty commonly in a healthcare setting, where you have something that's deployed throughout your organization that you need to bring back for whatever reasons, for expiry or maybe for potential harm, and it's a mad scramble, right? So this is a way to not only how to make that process more efficient, but make sure you've got them all, right? Patient safety first.
Yep.
Now, there's a lot here. Are you worried that customers might choke on this 7-course menu?
No, because I think we all do a really good job of helping to maintain and communicate the expectations. I can't recall who said it already, but these projects are very detailed to start. Doesn't matter if you're already on a previous version of Infor Lawson. There's a lot of different things that require those subject matter experts' attention. And when we start talking about these additional modules, we really want to focus on what does the organization need to be operational day one? What do they need to stand and be successful in conducting business? And a lot of these processes and solutions that we've described, organizations have those, maybe an outside process in place today, doesn't maybe cause them a lot of pain points. That's a perfect opportunity to say, let's throw this on a list for our phase 2. Let's kind of get that tackled. And I think us as consultants and advisors to our clients as partners, it's up to us to help them, discern how to best approach that. Developing those lists as those items is like a nice to have, and helps to kind of establish what they could look forward to in the future. The projects that are 12 to 18 months, folks are fatigued. And so we want them to focus on what they need to be successful at day one. But it also allows them the opportunity to take a step back and look at these additional solutions with fresh eyes.
Thank you, Ms. Marquez. Mr.
Yeah.
Luttrell, I'm going to move on to you, because it sounds like the peoples are rumblings with wants and needs post-live. What is your recommended approach for a customer to handle all this post-live?
Well, I think first off, after you get your implementation done, you need to give your project team some time to recover for a bit. In all likelihood, your project team, you've been asking your folks to basically hold down 2 full-time jobs for an extended period of time, and you need a little bit of time to catch their breath. Project fatigue is a real thing. I think you also need to let the system go through a couple of cycles before you start changing things up. You let the newness wear off, let them get through the learning curve, and get used to the new programs and processes. Then I think you can get a really good idea of what's going right and what needs to be addressed. They'll expose themselves. I'm a big proponent of forming a continuous improvement team. If a client hasn't done that already, do it now. If you haven't done it through the course of your ERP implementation, do it now. An ERP package is a huge part of a client's business, and it's always evolving. All the CUs, all the improvements, what have you. You need to create a method for your users to submit their issues and also the suggestions for improvements and capture those. And then I would say you need to have, that could be anything from a process flow to a report to an IPA, doesn't matter. Get them on the list, get them documented. Then have a committee of end users, super users, who takes that, evaluates the list, prioritizes it, and gets those issues implemented, gets them addressed. Management has to buy in, has to be a budget behind it. But in doing so, if you do it this way, you're going to keep your system fresh, keep things moving forward. I think the other benefit of that is when your end users see that their issues are being heard, that their voices are being heard and being addressed, you have a happier user community as well.
Ms. Molson, it sounds to me like Brian is advocating for a period of stabilization. You've often spoken of the importance of maintaining momentum. Is Brian simply misguided or just flat out wrong?
Neither. I mean, I definitely agree with the continuous improvement, with stabilization period. You know, you kind of talked about it earlier about somebody was saying you're in this for a year plus 366 days plus. People want to just kind of get back to operations, their first job. But if they decide to just wait, optimize, you do a little bit of the IPA flows, the reports, some of the things to give them a little more, but not really go straight into next level phase 2 type of projects. It's kind of like taking that gap year between high school and college. Then you get a job, and then you're making some money, and you're exploring, and you're comfortable, and you're not ready to get back into the grind of getting your degree or, you know, working toward something different because it's a little hard. So, you know, just go straight to it. You know, a lot of our phase 1 projects are really about moving what you already have. Processes are a little better, but you're still, you know, doing the same kind of thing. Phase 2 is really about getting all the new functionality that's out there, at least on the HR talent side, you know, those modules that you never had in Lawson. It's no longer an HR database. You hear us say that 100 times. It really is a people management system. And you can start seeing, again, patterns, data, visibility to help managers, to help leadership make more decisions, and, you know, just be, it's exciting. That's the sexy stuff. The phase 2 projects, the phase 1 projects are like, let's just do our job a little bit better. So I'm all about just let's move to get,
Keep it going.
Earlier.
Keep momentum
so it's
forward.
like, yeah, keep it going so you can get everything. You've spent a lot of money on CloudSuite applications to realize everything that it offers, you know, requires the hard work.
So I'm hearing a lot that there's stabilization projects, you know, break fixes, exceptions, and there's also ROI projects. There's efficiency driven and there's strategic initiative driven, right? Mr. Depew, can you talk through how an organization might sort through all these different types of competing priorities?
I'd be glad to. Before I get into this whole assessment road mapping exercise, I failed to mention one other key area that has been a post-go live initiative for a lot of the clients, and that is around data archiving. I think it's a big issue, whether you currently are in S3 or you have another legacy system, is a very good strategy around what are we going to do with our archive data, and what are our options. And we've been able to work with clients and give them some very good options of how to handle that data. So that is a common theme among what we're seeing with some of the other clients.
I'm gonna pause you right there. Sorry, Brian. I want to let Mr. Stout add a little bit of the archiving. You know, there's a strong desire from customers to always shove all their historical data into a new system. Why is that not the best solution, Stout?
Yeah, we see that a lot. There's certainly a desire from our clients, business users, first off, to maintain access to legacy data. A lot of times, it's a required for regulatory compliance to be able to go back, perhaps 7 years to look up certain pieces of information. And there's a desire not to juggle two different systems, right? To uh, be able to onboard new employees and teach them only the new system and not how to look up old data in an old system that's no longer in use. I totally understand that. The challenge we have with converting data into a new system, first off, it has to go through heavy transformation, right? Because we need that old transactional data to conform to new structures and align with the way the application is built for new processes. And then the other challenge is simply a data integrity issue. As we start bringing through older transactions, it becomes apparent that there are a lot of exceptions or different data scenarios that maybe were allowed under the old system that no longer fit the data integrity rules of CloudSuite, and that creates a ton of effort to sort of deal with. And when you're doing manual data cleanup at the point of transformation, you have to ask yourself, what am I even looking at in the new system? Does this really model the way the transaction happened, the way that process happened, however many years ago? We get that, and our approach here at RPI is to steer our clients towards bringing the right amount of data to be functionally operational on day one of go live, as well as establishing a data lookup or data archive capability and enabling our business users to effectively access that data held outside of the transactional database tables.
Thank you, Stout, and thank you, Ryan, because that is a major recurring issue for customers. I'm very glad we got a chance to talk about it now. Let's get back to how we work to, organize these competing priorities.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I think, after you get through the stabilization period we talked about, and then in order to gain momentum, I think it's, there's so many things going on. I think you've got kind of three buckets of areas that you're focusing on. One of those, what are those pain points that you currently have? What are those optimization items that you put off that you want to get to and get improvements put in place? And then the third one is, what are those modules, those big project implementation modules that like talent that you haven't gotten to? Those are kind of the three buckets that you've got to figure out what's the plan to address these issues. And what we've been able to do is with the clients is to actually go through an assessment where we've asked them, all right, tell us what are your optimization areas. And then as we go in and we do a discovery session with them, I think it's important to get the right people in the room, because what you find out is, all right, these are optimizations, but it also expands into a lot of the different pain points, and it goes into maybe some areas that you weren't even aware were pain points. So you kind of address the pain points, you address those optimization items, and then you develop a plan to basically resolve those issues. What's the priority on these? And so that you can have working sessions, or it could be advisory. And again, it could involve the IT area as well. But to develop a very detailed plan of how you address these issues and in what priority. And then the bigger piece is the whole modules that haven't been put in place, because you purchase these modules, you want to make sure you get those implemented and get your return on investment with those. So again, sitting down, talking about what you currently do and how we can get these other modules implemented in the right order. And so I think it comes together as a very comprehensive plan to get you to where you need to be to resolve your pain points, your optimization items, and have a plan for your phase 2 modules that have not been implemented.
And I think there's, a lot of value to a roadmap, because it forces you to make choices. And it also shows that even though your desired functionality or module or fix is not happening now. It's on there. It's just other things are happening first, right? So it sort of
Correct.
make sure that everybody understands where it fits in the priority line. And if you have that continuous improvement team that other Brian advocates for, you can modify that roadmap along the way and say, okay, if we insert this, we got to push something else out, right? And know what those consequences are. Now, one thing that
Yeah,
does come up front
Yeah.
that, you know, we hit repeatedly is training. And, you know, can you speak a little bit more specifically in a post-live environment? What type of training are we talking about and who are we training?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think what we've seen, you know, in all transparency, again, the whole project experience on all the team members is usually pretty difficult. And there's so much to learn in as many testing rounds as you go through. You really don't get a good feel for your processes until you're actually live and actually doing them over a period of time. So what we found to be consistent among the clients is definitely a need for functional and IT training. And we've seen it in all different areas. I mean, you've seen it in you know, HR, finance, supply chain, and some of it's around build. Some of it is around the, you know, your IT and the understanding of how to build IPA flows. There's a lot of tech needs there, and also around just you know, the actual actions that occur. There could be configurations that need to be put in place. So it varies by client, but it really involves the information that comes out of their daily processing.
Thank you, Brian. Now, Ms. Marquez, you've had the opportunity to train both customers during the implementation cycle and post-implementation cycle. Can you enlighten us a little bit in terms of the difference between, you know, trainees who've been working in the system and those that are new, what that experience is like?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, Brian sort of alluded to this when we're working with clients on a project and we're training them during that project, during testing or specific training sessions, we do and they do the best that we can to replicate what they're going to experience on a day-to-day. But there's no better way to do that than once you're live on that system. So the difference really that you see is when folks are training during a project, they may not know the right questions to ask because they don't know what they don't know. But after the fact, after they've had time and they've been using the system, then they can recall specific examples where they may have run into an issue that we weren't able to identify during an implementation project. So we recently experienced this with a client. They went live over the summer. They were using the contract change order functionality. They felt comfortable with it in testing. They felt comfortable with it in training. But after go live, there were these really unique circumstances that kept popping up with their end users. And so we were able to kind of break that down and essentially retrain those folks, retrain the end users and the folks, the business users that were processing those types of requests. So it enhances it. It makes it that much better. They feel more confident by the time they've gone through their go live, and they start really kind of stretching and reaching outside the box.
So it's a different level of impact that you're able to have.
Absolutely.
You're the same trainer. You have all the information either way, but there's more context to go around it. So we've covered a lot here. On my bingo card, I've checked off stabilization, training, position budgeting, inventory intelligence, financial reporting, IDM, roadmaps, and continuous improvement. Mr. Luttrell, if I find myself assessing this post-go live landscape, can you talk about how RPI might be able to help me?
I sure can. This is really at the core of what RPI does. And we aren't there just to implement your new system and then disappear into the night. We're looking to build long-term, strategic relationships with all our clients. Our goal is to become a trusted advisor, all things ERP to each of our clients. And we have the talent set and the ability to do that. As Brian Dupuy mentioned, we can lay out a whole roadmap for you and get together and prioritize those things for you so you have a good working model to go with. So I think if you look at it, whether it's evaluating your supply chain management practices, or addressing your reporting needs, or providing you with technical experience in a managed services arena, or implementing an entire phase 2, we stand ready to help. We have a super talented group of folks here at RPI. I'm proud to work with them, and they have tons of ERP experience. We can really apply that to any client situation. I would say pick up the phone, get a hold of us. We'd love to share that experience with you.
Thank you so much, Brian. I think we're ready to just about wrap this up. Any final parting words of wisdom, Mr. Stout?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Keith. As we've heard from our project experts today, who have a lot of experience not only within the implementation sphere, but staying in touch with clients, helping them stabilize, helping them make the most of their technology investments. There is a ton of different opportunities and ways that we can improve our business to application alignment, and our technical tools and our application capabilities to really help clients make the most of CloudSuite and all of the associated applications. We're thankful to be with our clients on that journey, and to have the opportunity to help them and assist as they navigate through these times, these post-live implementation times where there might be some confusion of direction. We can help provide a guiding light and sort of help organize and prioritize how organizations can spend their time to make the most out of the system, not just to take advantage of all the capabilities we have today, right? We saw that the Infor platform has evolved significantly in just a few short years since CloudSuite first became an offering. I'm definitely long on Infor CloudSuite. I see that Infor is putting a lot of effort and long-term plans around advancing this platform to not only better help with the client's needs that we can define, through requirements, but to anticipate what those needs might be in the future and take advantage of technology innovations that we're seeing in other industries and bring those to the back office. So I think I'm pretty excited about what the future has to hold for us, and thankful that we have a lot of great clients that we can work with together to help enable that.
Yeah, and those experiences with all various customers put us in a better position to both understand what might or might not be successful given a certain set of circumstances, and to advocate on our customers' behalf towards Infor. Thanks everyone for attending. I hope you found this session informative and helpful. Thanks to our esteemed panel of talking heads. I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.